Hey, everybody, welcome to the Aligned Love Podcast. This is the place where I am going to help you find the one thing that you feel is missing: healthy love. I am your host, Lauren Zoller, and in this podcast, I will share with you how to attract love, live in alignment, and elevate your deepest relationships. So buckle up, get present, tune into your body, and open up to the possibility that you truly do get to have it all. Let's dive in. Stacy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Great to see you.
I know, it's good to see you too. For everyone that's listening, Stacy and I met. You guys hear me talk about brand builders all the time, but you and I were at a brand builders event, and I remember sitting down at the table and you started talking to me about what you do. And I'm like, I remember thinking to myself, this woman is a master networker. She just gets it. And so that's why I wanted to have you on the show today, because we're going to talk. This is the Align Love podcast. We talk a lot about relationships. And I think it is so important. Yes, we're going to talk about business relationships, but I think it's so important, even in your love life, to know how to network, because some of the most beautiful relationships that I've had in my life, romantic relationships, have come from people that I networked with in the business world that introduced me to somebody.
Yep. I see that happen all the time.
Yeah. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that and to teach people, how can you start to be a better networker? Because you never know. What is the saying that you are? What is it? I'm going to butcher this. I butcher every saying, but
network is your net worth.
Yes, that's it. Your network is your net worth. And also you are who you surround yourself by. And so I think that we're going to kind of dive into that. Before we jump in together, can you just take a moment to set an intention for what you want people to feel, or how you want them to walk away feeling as a result of our conversation together today?
Yeah, definitely. I love that you always begin your podcast this way, so people know what we're here for. So my intention for today is that people will be, by the time they finish listening to this podcast, they are going to feel very differently about networking, and they're going to see it in a whole new way, the potential that it really has.
I love it. I love it so much. It's so important. And it's such a skill that a lot of people are not taught. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your story and how networking became such a passion for you, and how you really stepped fully into helping people deepen relationships in the workplace, and also probably in every area of their life, through learning how to network.
Yeah. Well, I kind of fell in love with networking in two or three stages. The first stage was when I became an entrepreneur. So I was invited by some good friends to go to a networking event. And I had been in business about 6 months at that point. And I walked in this room full of other people who were like me. They were business owners, and some of them were like me. They were like baby business owners, and some of them were further ahead than I was, a lot further ahead. But we were all fighting the same battles. We were all trying to make the same decisions. We were, when you're an entrepreneur, you are the CEO and the head bathroom cleaner. It's juggling all of those things. And I was like, these are my people. They understand what I'm going through. And to be able to have this tribe of people that understood the challenges I was facing, the good days, the bad days, the roller coaster that we all ride as entrepreneurs, it was just so invaluable to me, because being an entrepreneur can also be very lonely. Because you are the only one starting out, especially. And if you don't yet have a team, it can be really hard. And so they were the people that I bounced ideas off of and asked them for support and got their advice. And so that was really the first stage of falling in love with networking. The middle part was when my network really started to grow. And all of a sudden, whatever I needed, I knew who to call. I had a person, or if I didn't have a person, I could ask one or two people, and they knew the person that I needed to know. And so things in business just started to flow so much easier, and my phone started to ring, and it was because other people in my network were talking about me and referring me. And so business picked up, and it just became so much easier. And I started networking 20 years ago. Wow. Almost 7 years ago, my life completely changed. and even the way that I look at networking when my husband suffered a traumatic health event. And he was actually, we live in the Houston area, just north of Houston. And he was on a business trip in Baton Rouge, Louisiana when it happened. And I got a call from an emergency room nurse at 10:30 at night saying, your husband is here and he has an abdominal aortic aneurysm and an aortic dissection, which is something that less than 1% of people survive. And she said, you need to get your affairs in order and get here as fast as you can. And I miraculously got a flight in the middle of the night, got there about 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was a crazy situation where the hospital in Baton Rouge was not equipped to care for him. There was not a surgeon in the state qualified to do the surgery that he needed. And so I had to get him back to Houston, but the hospital didn't want to let him go because they were afraid he would die on the way. So there was this big liability issue that was there. And it's such a long story, but in a nutshell, I went on to Facebook and I texted and called every friend that I had ever made in my network over to that point, 14 years, that was in the medical field that I could think of. And I started just asking for help, telling them what we needed. And I put out a plea on Facebook and said, these are the things that we need. We have to have a receiving hospital, a surgeon that agrees to take on the liability, a cardiologist, a critical care ambulance company that will agree to transport him from point A to point Z, And within 12 hours, Lauren, we had everything that we needed, and we were putting Greg into an ambulance, and we were pulling out of the parking lot of the hospital with the doctor there who had told us, you're never going to be able to make this happen, standing there with his mouth hanging open. And the networking groups that I've been a part of, I'm part of an organization called Network in Action. I own 5 franchises with it. My group members, and then another networking group that I've been a part of for years, they took up a collection because all of this was out of pocket money that insurance was not covering.
Oh my gosh.
And they actually took up enough money that paid for the deductible on our insurance.
Oh.
And, all of these things happened through people that God had put in my life, in my network. All of these relationships, these people that stepped up to support us in our greatest time of need, were people that I had met through networking. So when we went through that, after I had time to sit back and reflect on how everything had come together, it just amazed me at what people can do when they have real relationships and when they truly care about each other, what we can make happen together. And so then I just fell completely in love with networking. And I've really made it a mission to share that story with other people, with business owners, with salespeople, with anyone. We all need a network. Everybody needs a network, relationships.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Wow. What an amazing story. That is incredible. And also just highlights how important it is to build a network and to really get yourself out there. Because again, we talked about this a little while ago, but there's no way that your husband would have survived without the people that you had created in your network, which is incredible, which then leads me to think, because I know that people are going to be listening to this and saying, okay, but networking terrifies me. It's so scary. I mean, I even think about myself. It took me so long to get to a place where I could walk into a room of people and feel like, oh my gosh, what the heck am I doing? Is there an actual strategy to this? Do I have to just go up to everybody? I'm an introvert. I don't really like to talk to humans. So if somebody is listening and they're like, I need to start to build my network. And because again, I cannot stress enough how my story of the last relationship that I was in, I met him through a network of people that I had been introduced to through a career path networking, right? Through a mastermind. So if somebody is interested and they know that they need to expand their network, what do you suggest that they do first?
The first thing to do is change your mindset about networking. So many people, they think networking is business related. It's just all about business. And they have all this angst that you're talking about that surrounds it, about walking into a room full of people, a room full of strangers that I don't know, and trying to make small talk and, all of this kind of stuff. And if you can shift your mindset, and a lot, also people go into it with who can help me, who's
Yeah.
going to help me get further in business, and they make it about
Them.
how it's very inward.
Right.
If you can just change the way you think about it, and when you walk into that room where you don't know anybody, and just say to yourself, I'm going to meet one, two, three people, whatever is not overwhelming for you. And I'm going to make them glad that they came to this event tonight. I'm
That's
going to
big.
help them. I'm going to figure out how I can help them. It's not about you going there to help yourself. It's about you going there to help somebody else. And helping somebody can come in all forms. It can be just a friendly face
Yeah.
that smiles and says hello and says, I've never been here before and I don't know a soul. How about you? And they go, oh my goodness, I don't know anybody here
Ew.
either.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
stick
Yeah.
together. I
Yeah.
mean, that can make somebody's day. Or making an introduction, referring them to a podcast. I listened to a
Mhm.
podcast that was about this subject, or I read this book and it's about what we were talking about. Let me share the info with you. All of those things, they can really help somebody, and it creates this connection with you, between somebody, and you build your network. You don't build your network 50 people at a time. You
Yeah.
build your network one person at a time. And
Yeah.
so it's about the one person who is in front of you and how you can help them.
Yeah.
And when you go into it with that question in mind, with challenging yourself that way, it takes all the pressure off of you, because then you're just asking the questions and letting them tell you how you can help them.
I love it. I love
So,
it. So big. And the mindset shift of going from how can I receive support to how can I help someone else
yes,
is so big. I've never even thought about it that way, of
yeah,
going to a networking event and thinking about that, because sometimes it can feel overwhelming when you get into a networking event. And some of the best connections that I've made have come from networking events where I was like, you know what? I don't actually probably shouldn't be at this networking event. I don't really think that there's anything here that I can gain from it. But
right.
long term, some of those relationships that I've made at events like that have been the most profitable for my
Yes.
business in my life, because I was able to really cultivate. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, there's something about taking off that lens of what can I receive and what can I
Yes,
get that deepens the relationship that
absolutely.
you meet at a networking event.
Yeah, because then you have no agenda. Have
Mm-hmm.
no agenda except I'm going to help as many people as I can at this
Right.
event, and for introverts like yourself, don't push yourself too far. Set that goal. Is it one people? Is it two people? Is it three? Probably beyond that, that's going to be a little bit much, but you're going to feel very fulfilled if you have one or two really good conversations with people, and you walk away from it. There may be 100 people there. You've had two great conversations, and you can go, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to go.
Right.
And when your tank isn't empty by the time you leave, you still have,
Exactly.
so.
I love that. I love that so much. So I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you kind of a fun question.
Okay.
I always tell my women that come through my program, there's so much power in tapping into your network to let
Mhm.
people know that you're open and you're available and you're ready to meet
Yes.
someone,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So I'm curious, if a single woman is listening to this and she said, okay, I have a great network, but I'm a little scared about reaching out to my network to ask them or to tell them, like, hey, I'm single and I'm open.
Uh-huh.
How would you go about encouraging someone to do that if they are like tapping into their current resource, just like you
Right.
did with your husband, to say, hey,
Uh-huh.
I need support here?
This is what I
What
want.
is the best way to start to reach out to your networking group to say, hey, I need something, without feeling like you're imposing or
Mhm.
having this sense of, oh my gosh, I do feel like I'm asking for something and I need something?
Yeah. That's where the relationship part of it is so important, because when it is a real relationship, it's not hard to ask people for
Yeah.
help. So because if you've got a history and it's been a give and take, of helping each other, then it's not hard for me to go, Lauren, you know what? I got out of a relationship 6 months ago, and it took a little while to get over it, but I'm really ready to get back out there. But I want to meet quality people. I don't want to go to a bar and just run into somebody and have no idea who they are, where they're from, anything like that. I really want to meet somebody that is a quality person. This is what I'm looking for. If you can think of anybody, if you know somebody, if you have any ideas, I would love to hear them.
Love it.
And most people are going to jump all over that. Like they will. I mean, people love to help and they love to feel significant and that they have, that they have really been able to um, give you a quality referral. I mean, even if it is a date, it's
Yeah.
the same, and that's the thing. We can network wherever we go. It doesn't have to be a networking event. It can
Mm,
be in your kid's carpool lane, if that's the case, if that's your life. It can be at their soccer game, it can be at church, it can be in the line at Starbucks.
right.
So, but the big thing is to have that relationship where you can open up and there is trust that is there, that you can be vulnerable in that way.
I love it. Well, and I think what you said is something that was really profound in that is that people want to help. And I think about when people ask me for something, it's like, yeah, I'm going to drop everything that I'm doing to try to help this person. And oftentimes we feel like we're being an inconvenience to
Yeah.
someone, but really
Yeah.
it's about us. Because if you think about all of the times that someone has come to you and asked for help, for me at least, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
want to help you. I want to support you. I want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
And getting out of your own way in that entire process, whether you're asking for referrals for business or you're asking to be introduced to somebody to
Yeah.
potentially have a life partner, it's the same concept
Yeah.
of people really do want to help. They want to serve. They want
Yes.
to show up for you.
Yes. And they want to see you happy. They want to
Yeah.
contribute to their happiness, to your happiness, however they can. And so it is, there are two couples that I've set up in my life that both got married,
Oh,
and like sitting at their weddings, I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. I mean, it's such a great feeling. And now they have like 6 kids between the two couples,
my
and
goodness.
it's amazing. I mean, that's such a good feeling. I tell people all the time I'm a matchmaker for business owners, not dating, but business relationships. But there have been a couple of times that I've
I love it. I was about to say, you need to just start a side business of being a
yeah,
matchmaker. I could send you all of my clients. You'd have a whole
yeah.
robust client list. So good.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Well, next question for you, because
Mhm.
I know that this is something that I struggle with.
Okay.
And I'm just calling myself out. I like to get really raw and vulnerable on the show. I am a master. I feel like I've really networked, like I've networked well. And when I
Mhm.
go to events, I've mastered the art of networking. What I have not mastered, and I know a lot of people are probably going to be raising their hand like, oh, me too, is the art of the follow up.
Ooh, yes.
And I will get this whole list and promise the moon. And then I get home and I see the list and I get into my workday. And the next thing you know, I'm not following up with the people that I connected with at a networking event until a month and a half later. And they're like, who are you again?
Right.
Right. And I message them out of the blue. So, what
Mhm.
tips do you have for follow up post networking event or post meeting someone
Yeah.
that can make that feel a little less daunting, like it's another task on the to do list?
Yeah. Um, I believe that if you have the shift in mindset when you have gone into the event and it's how can I help you? And you find it somebody that there was good rapport that was there and just great synergy, you are much more anxious to follow up with them
Mm.
because you've made, oh, I love your cat. I've got 3 of them running around here. I'm surprised.
Oh, thanks. He likes to make appearances for
I know.
anybody listening to the podcast. You cannot see this, but my kitty cat is here.
Oh, what a cute face. But if you've had this shift in mindset, then the follow-up, you're going to be excited to follow up because we had a great conversation and you want to continue it.
Mm.
And so also really focusing on the quality conversations. So you can go to a networking event, you can meet 10 or 20 people. And if you have 10 or 20 people to follow up with, that is overwhelming. If you had 2 or 3 really great conversations that were of high quality, you only have 2 or 3 people to follow up with.
Right.
So it's not nearly as daunting. If you did meet a large number of people, maybe you were at a weekend event, like where we really got to know each other was at a 2-day event. So there's a lot of people that you meet over a couple of days. Break it down, tell yourself over the next 5 days, I'm going to contact 2 people a day.
Mm.
And just shoot out an email or a text message. I love getting a visit with you. Can we set up a Zoom call so we can keep talking about what we were talking about? I'd love to find out more. that kind of thing. Something that I really encourage people to do as well is take notes as you have, if you've got their business card or if you're going to put it in your phone, take notes. What did you talk about? Okay, Lauren told me that she's getting ready to go on a vacation to Hawaii next week. Or her cat's been sick, anything like that. And so when I follow up with you, like you were saying, sometimes maybe a little bit of time has passed, but we shouldn't let that keep us from following up with people. Maybe 6 weeks has gone by, but you're still thinking about them. And so that's what I'd say, Lauren, I know it's been a month and a half since we saw each other, but I keep thinking about you. I wanted to reach out. You mentioned that you were going on a vacation to Hawaii. I hope you had a great time. I'd love to see some pictures. Could we get together over coffee and visit for a little while? And then that way it lets people know that you remember them and you remember the conversation that you had.
Yeah.
And you might give them a little trigger as far as who you are. I was the one in the blue dress, or we met as we were standing in line at the registration table, just to make sure that they remember who you are. But those are really easy things to do. And it gets rid of that stack of business cards on your desk that gathers dust. I always say there's no telling how many thousands, maybe millions of dollars are sitting on our desk.
I know.
With people that we never followed up with. I mean, it makes you kind of sick to think about it.
Yeah, for sure. 1000%. Yeah. I love that. Those are all fantastic tips. This has been so good. I feel like I was so excited when I met you because I really wanted people one of the things that I always get when women go through my program is, oh my gosh, I can get on a dating app. I can swipe. I can hire a matchmaker and have somebody do it for me, but it is terrifying to actually have to ask my network how I can meet people. And also it's terrifying to go to singles events and to dating events and actually feel like I need to network. And so this has been such a beautiful conversation about how to get out there and to really take off that pressure of what it looks like to network and feeling like it's a really scary thing. So this was such a good conversation. I have one more question for you before we round the show out today. I ask everybody this question on the Aligned Love podcast. What does an aligned relationship mean to you? And it can be a relationship, a romantic relationship, your relationship to self. What does it mean to be in alignment?
I think it is. I know that I'm in alignment with somebody by the way I feel when I'm around them. Do you get the warm and fuzzies with the people that are in your crowd? Do you feel like you can be the real you? They are with you on good days and bad days. You get the same support. Do they share the same values that you share? Are they, when you are in a moral dilemma and you're trying to decide what is the right thing to do, are they going to come at it from the same perspective that you would of helping you make what is a right decision that you can live with, in the future? To me, that's what being in an aligned relationship is really about. Shared values, shared goals, shared support.
I love it. Love it so much. Well, Stacy, where can people find you? If they are interested in getting to know you, what do you have coming up? Just take a moment to plug yourself.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. They can find me stacyharrisconsulting.com. It's STACY, no E in Stacy. If there's an E, it's not me. That's what I tell people. So
love it.
stacyharrisconsulting.com. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. And then you can email me, stacy@stacyharrisconsulting.com. And I would love to help anybody that I can. I have a networking class, a 4-part course that people can take on a lot of the things that we talked about today, how to really become a master networker. And I do webinars and keynote speaking and different things like that. So just go to my website, find me there. I'd love to connect with anybody that's out there listening because I am always looking to grow my network.
I love it so much. And we'll make sure to drop all of that in the show notes below. Stacy, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your heart and teaching us all how we can be better networkers. For everyone that's listening. Yeah. For everyone that's listening, make sure that you like this podcast, share it with someone that needs to hear it. And we will see you on the next episode of the Aligned Love podcast. That wraps up today's episode of the Aligned Love podcast. One thing that would really help me and the other new potential listeners is for you to rate this show and leave a comment wherever you tune in and listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on Instagram at Lauren Zoller, and please share this podcast with anyone who you think may enjoy it. Until next episode, remember, every transformation begins with one moment of awareness, and I hope today has been yours. I'll see you next time.